pulling Elder Scrolls Online up on ProtonDB, and so we can. I thought you mentioned last time that we should include the ProtonDB, like comments and rating and all of that, as part of our review, and that's a really good idea. So we got to play the game a little bit together. We did some dungeons with some friends of ours, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun,
and it ran excellent on Mint 20.1.
It did. I was also on Mint 20.1 at the time that we did that. So it ran perfect. I think it runs just as well on Arch, but I did have a different experience during the install. So I wasn't planning to reinstall the game. That won't be like part of the future reviews or anything like that, where we, and we try it on Mint and then we reinstall everything and try it on Arch. I'm not going to do that every time.
No, that's going to be too much.
It was just coincidence because we're doing this Arch episode on Mintcast. But honestly, I'm not changing my computer again until I have a reason to again. I'm going to keep it this way. So the next games we review will probably also be this setup for me. But during the installation, I don't know if it's because of the new update of the game launcher, because they did have a major update to ESO right after we did our first review and our first installation. And so I don't know if it's related to that at all, or if it's because I am installing it a different, on Arch on Steam this time. I kind of suspect it has to do with the update of the launcher. I'm not sure though. But whenever you get to the screen where it asks you where you want to install the game, it was red and it told me I didn't have enough space. It said I only had 15 gigs available.
Right, and I got the same thing that happened to me.
Yeah.
Both times I installed it on Mint even.
Right, and I did too. So that's another thing I wanted to point out is that error message was not new, and I've seen other games do that as well. I'm guessing that whenever you do a Proton installation, Steam's doing some weird trickery where, it's making the Wine hard drive or whatever. I don't know enough about how Proton works. But
it's pointing it to the folder that Proton is installed in, and it sees that, and it thinks that that's where the game is trying to get installed, and it's like, whoa, this is only like 2 gigs or whatever, whatever it decides it's going to be.
And I even edited. I went to the folder, and I found like an install script as part of my Steam installation, and I edited that, and I even found I didn't know what the variables meant, but I found a variable that looked like it was plausible that it might be the size of that like allocated space, and it was set to 15. So I was like, oh, this is it. I'm just going to change that 15 to like 30, and then go back and try to install it, and it'll go through this time. But I made the change, and it still said 15. So whatever I changed, and I have no idea, whatever I changed did nothing.
You just improved the game by like 15 frames per second. You don't even know
it. I set my 15 really meant like no limit, and now that I've set it to 30, it's like, oh, there is a limit. So now my frame, if my FPS is always at 30. So it wouldn't let me get past there. It kept saying you don't have enough space. And in the past on Linux Mint and on previous versions of ESO, I've just clicked next, and it's just installed anyway, even though there wasn't enough space.
That's exactly
there.
what I did. Both times I just push next or cancel and come back to it, and then it just keeps going.
But it wouldn't, and I don't know if it has to do with the new installation or if it has to do with the new update, but it gave me an error message, and when you clicked OK, and it was doing that thing where the message would come up and it would just be black. I couldn't actually read it.
That happened to me too.
Yeah, but I'd click OK, and it would just close everything. It would never go past it. And so I was on the Glorious Egg Roll Proton, Lord and Savior Glorious Egg Roll, and that didn't work. So then I switched to like the default Proton that came with my Steam installation. That didn't work. Same error message. And
now
then
was that the 5.13?
I don't know what it was.
Or experimental. Experimental, I think, is on by default. Like if you just turn Proton on, experimental is what it installs.
That's right. It was called like experimental or something.
Yeah, right.
So then I just remembered that there was a time period where I had the game working on 4.11, and so I was thinking, well, what if I just revert back to 4.11 and install it that way instead? And and it worked. 4.11-13. I just went and looked at it.
I'm having flashbacks to Windows compatibility.
Yeah, exactly. And so I switched it to that, and then when it went to that screen where it said I only had 15 gigs, this time it showed my whole hard drive. It said I had like 750 gigs available, and the game installed fine.
Yeah, that never happened for me. I didn't try going back, but it always said like 15 gigs, and you need like 30 some or whatever.
Yeah, like 27, I think.
27, yeah.
The only reason I know that is because I was trying to change that number.
Right.
And so it installed, but then the game wouldn't launch on 4.11. But all I needed it to do was to get past that. Now the files are there. And so I just went back and I switched it back to the Master Proton Glorious Egg Roll. And now the game runs fine. Everything works just like it did before. So like I said, I don't know if that's like a new hurdle that we've got to jump through because of the new version of ESO, or if it was just something weird with my installation this time. But if for some reason you get that message, try my trick. I have also read on I'm reading a comment and I saw 4.11.13 in the comment. So I'm gonna read this comment in a minute and see if it's related to what we were just talking about. But I have also read on Reddit that with the 15 gig error message, just keep trying it and eventually it will work. That being said, I think I tried it like 8 or 9 times. Like I didn't just try it once and then say, oh, well, I'm going to
write a script that just keeps going until it installs.
Yeah. So you try it and you have to close it, relaunch it, try it, close it, relaunch it, and you just keep doing that and eventually it will work.
Yeah.
Someone on Reddit said that.
Yeah. I can't remember if the first time when I installed it before the big update, it happened or not. I don't remember. I wish I could. I know it happened to me twice, but I've been distro hopping so much I don't remember.
Yeah. So this comment has nothing to do with our situation. He was saying that he gets very frequent random crashes after the Flames of Ambition update. That is the update. The Flames of Ambition is the most recent update. Usually about an hour or two into the game. So I actually have not played because the night that we played. No, that was Flames of Ambition. The night that we played together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we played way more than 2 hours.
Since then, I've played more than 2 hours at a time, and it's been fine. I haven't had any crashes at all.
Yeah, me neither. But I haven't tried more than 2 hours since I switched to Arch. So again, it could have something to do with, the different.
Does he say what system he's on or what distro?
Yeah, he's on Fedora, actually. Fedora 33.
Okay, well, that could be a problem, too. Like, every distro has, its little quirks, so that could be something to do with it.
He's on a Ryzen 5 1600 with a 1660 GTX. He has a similar build. He has a similar setup to me. And then he says that those crashes are still present while testing with the 4.11.13 version, as well as the latest 5.13-6.
Try Proton, Glorious Egg Rolls. Try that. I guarantee it'll work.
Yeah, sometimes they put in here if they're using, because it's so popular that a lot of people say, yeah, but he hasn't mentioned. Yeah, so I don't know. It's only got a gold rating, which is good. I mean, a gold rating means that like it most likely is going to work for you. So what did you think of the game itself?
I thought it was excellent. Before I played with you guys, I really didn't play that much because I was so used to playing Elder Scrolls 5. Sorry, I can't think of the name of it. Skyrim. Yeah, there it is. And then I started playing ESO, and I just didn't I just didn't get it. It wasn't the same. I thought it was going to be that, but like multiplayer. And then once I played with you guys, I really got the hang of it because everyone kind of helped us. My wife and I, we both played with you guys, and it helped us out a ton on figuring out how to do things with it, how to actually play the game correctly.
Yeah, I really like it a lot. It's one of my favorite MMOs. When I tried it for the very first time, I only ever played it with that couple that we were playing with. I mean, I say their name on other podcasts. I don't care, Graham and Sammy, but I've only ever played with them basically. And so they kind of showed me the ropes right away because they've been playing for a long time. And then a guy that works with me, I convinced him to play the game. And he's just one of these people that is just like, whenever he starts a new MMO, he starts listening to podcasts about it. He starts studying it. He's like figuring out what he's going to play. And like he automatically surpassed the three of us, like in knowing everything there was to know about this game. And so he started giving me advice on different things I should do to better my character and stuff. And I really like ESO better than a lot of MMOs in the sort of like, if I were going to play an MMO solo and I just want to like just focus on the game, I'm not listening to a podcast in the background, I don't have YouTube playing on another monitor, I just want to play the game, read the quest text, or in the case of ESO, they have great voice acting for every quest text.
Yeah, it's excellent.
I don't know how they can do that, to have as many quests as they do and every single one of them is voice acted. That in itself is pretty astonishing. I don't know how they do that, but as far as like a game that I can just quest and enjoy that, this is one of the only MMOs that's that way for me. For me, MMOs is all about, all right, I don't care about any of the storyline, I don't care about any of the quests, I'm just burning through all this so that I can get the gear, so that I can get to end game and we can raid, right? But ESO is like, it's like reading a book. I'm like, oh, I want to, I'm going through the chapters of this story and playing it solo.
Right, because there is a pretty good story, even for the main quest line.
Yeah, every race like has like a nice, backstory that you learn about. Each little town in ESO like has a little story going on. It's the way old World of Warcraft felt to me, where you'd go to a town and you learn about this lore here. That they've kind of lost that magic a little bit. Maybe it's just because we all know the old lore of WoW now, and ESO is just, I don't know that world as much, but it's really nice digging into all that and kind of taking that game kind of slow. Now, whenever you do get to end game, the end game is fun too, because basically there's daily quests that you pick up, and they will give you a quest to go do a dungeon, and then that dungeon will give you a currency to buy a chest that you have a chance of getting the gear, and that's where my friend comes in, where he does all this research on like, well, here's what you need to, here's the ones you need to run in order to try to get the right chest, to get the right shoulders and headpiece and all this kind of stuff. But it's different than, they have that sort of mechanic in World of Warcraft and in other MMOs, but it's different because in other MMOs, you have access to every spell at all times. And so what happens is every single frost mage, and unless you're not playing the game right, you are doing the exact same thing as every other frost mage who is also doing what you're doing, because they all went on YouTube and they looked up how to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas in a game where you only have like 5 buttons on your action bar, but yet you have access to 100 abilities. It's not really 100, but you have access to 60 abilities. You've got to decide the way you want to play a frost mage, or in this game it would be a sorcerer, but you've got to decide how you want to do that. And so there is actual choice as opposed to just the illusion of choice. And I think that is what ESO does well, better than most other MMOs.
And I've been a huge Elder Scrolls fan for a long time. And I like the whole lore aspect of it. Like, basically Elder Scrolls is set 1,000 years before Skyrim. So you're getting all this backstory to all this stuff from Skyrim, from Morrowind, from Oblivion. And it's really cool to learn all of this stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense now, because I learned this in Morrowind, or I learned this in Oblivion, and now it makes sense why that happened. And that was what was fun for me initially when I started playing. It was just kind of learning all about how things used to be.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I knew that about the game, but I didn't play enough of Skyrim to know the story of Skyrim. So I don't actually have that perspective. I'm playing it as if this is the first time I've ever played through the story.
Right.
So that's That's really interesting. And
well, you can do it either way, really. I mean, because it's 1,000 years before, so you can do all this and then play Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim, and then you'd be like, okay, now that makes sense. What I heard back in ESO,
right? No, that's
the opposite way.
That's a really good point. The game's enjoyable from either perspective. Absolutely. I mean, I just started playing ESO just kind of as an MMO nut, and I didn't know that I was going to care about the storyline at all. But
I'm all about storyline. No matter what game I play, the storyline has to be good, or else I will just drop it. Unless, of course, it's like Valheim, where you can kind of craft stuff and make your own thing. That's a different story. But like, if it's like a AAA game and it wants to tell you a story, it needs to be a good story.
Yeah. I'm with you on single player games, but on MMO games, I don't really care. I usually don't follow the story that much. I really like Final Fantasy 14. I like their story. That's another MMO that has a good story. Only it's almost too focused on story. But anyway, I'm sure we'll do that game eventually. It's not a free
That's
play
probably
game,
why
so.
I don't like Albion as much, because there's not like a story, I guess you could say.
Albion is a sandbox MMO, so it's similar to what you're saying about Valheim, where it's like you kind of make the story. This world is whatever you make it.
Right. Right.
But one thing that I disliked about, and I never noticed it because I've always played ESO with 3 other people, so it just worked out perfectly. But the fact that we had trouble finding things to do whenever we had a 5th or 6th person online.
Right, yeah. That was a big problem.
Yeah, and there are things to do, but not kind of at the gear. We were all at different levels. So that's another thing to point out is this game syncs a lot. So you and your wife had just started the game. Y'all were very low level, like sub 20 or something.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Sub 10 probably, I think, actually. It was pretty... Yeah, we didn't play much before you guys helped us.
We're max level, and we're in what they call CP levels. They have champion point level. This is another part of the end game that's interesting to compare to other MMOs. And we were still able to do content with you. We were still able to do dungeons with you because everything in the dungeon kind of syncs to our levels. And I'm not sure exactly how the mechanics of that work.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Different games kind of do it different ways, but it's pretty seamless. Like it didn't feel like I was doing low level dungeons or anything like that. They felt easier because they weren't.
And it didn't feel like I couldn't do anything.
You're right.
I felt like I was actually damaging the person, not just like throwing a fireball at it and being like, "Oops, I hit you."
Yeah. That's so they do it really well. And the champion points thing. So the way the end game works is after you reach level 50, you still gain levels after that, but they're called champion points, and they give you a point system that you can spend to improve the skills on your character. But the most interesting thing about this is that is account bound. So whenever I make it, so my DK in ESO, a Dragon Knight, is champion, and I don't remember, but he's like champion points like 200 or something. I'm not super far into champion points, but the big milestone is 160. I think it's 160. Whenever gear drops in the dungeon, if you loot something that you killed and you're level 18, it's going to drop level 18 gear. If I loot that same thing, it's going to drop level 50 and then CP 160, because 160 is the cap as far as gear that drops. And so whenever you're playing the game, you want to get to 50, and then once you get to 50, you want to get to 160 as soon as possible. So that way when gear drops for you, it's at its highest point that it'll ever be. But your CP still increases. And so if I log into the game right now and I create a new character, it'll be a level 1, but it'll be CP 200. So it gets my account bound champion points.
Oh, that's cool. See, I didn't even know that about it.
Yeah, so my level 1 will actually be stronger than yours because I have those points that I can spend to make his skills better.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's good
that
because...
makes me want to play right now. Get my level up.
Yeah, I'm enjoying talking about this. It's good because one of the things about early MMOs is that you'd make a character, you'd go through all this grind, you'd do this thing, and then if you ever wanted to make an alternate character, it was like you really didn't get any...
Right.
There was no benefit for making that first character. You were starting completely over.
You're starting out from nothing. Yeah.
Right. And then there's Final Fantasy 14 has a system where you basically and this is kind of like Albion. Whatever character you make, that's your character, and you can play every class you want to. You could be anything you want to in both of those games. It's just a matter of changing the gear that you're wearing. And the difference between Albion and that, or it's actually similar because you still have to level up. In Albion, if you switch from like a sword and shield to a staff, you still have to know how to make better and better gear for the
that
cloth.
Class.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
In Final Fantasy, it's you've played the game. You've done all the starting quests, all the storyline quests, and then you decide, I want to make a different class. I think I want to make a healer. Well, you go talk to whoever you got to talk to. They give you the quest to go become a healer. You just become a healer. But you're a level 1 healer when you put on that gear versus when you switch back to your tank gear, you're max level. The problem with that scenario is you've already done all the story quests. So you have to find other ways to level up your character, either going to zones you didn't go to, or they have like daily quests. There's lots of different options, but it's a little more challenging to have an alt. There's only so many alts you really want to have because it gets harder the more quests you do.
Right.
You get less and less opportunities. The neat thing about ESO with this whole champion point system is you're starting a new character. It's going to go through the story quests and all over again, but you still had the benefit of playing your first character because you had the champion points. So it's a really good balance to kind of both systems.
Yeah, that's cool. And every NPC levels with you, so it's not like you're fighting these like, level 1 NPCs and like just slaughtering them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good game. It's a really good game. The things that I don't like about it is I'm okay with the combat, but there's some things that irk me about the combat in ESO. As a tank, I don't like the fact that I can't like single target aggro something. Things aggro together.
Right.
Yeah, this is also a problem in Final Fantasy. This is why I actually don't tank in Final Fantasy. I'd rather tank. I'd rather tank in a game like World of Warcraft, but second to that would be tanking in a game like ESO. But whenever I try to pull one thing in a room, no matter how you do it, no matter what you do, the other things that are kind of invisibly attached to that will also pull. There's no way to avoid it. It just is. The game is designed that way. And so that's annoying as a tank, because part of my strategy in other games was to, try to pick something off and then go around a corner, force it to come to me, and then, we kill it. And then I go back and pick something else, force it around a corner and kill it. You can't do that in pretty much in either Final Fantasy or in this game. You just kind of have to just run in and then just try your best to pull
Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah. Now,
just straight in.
That being said, in ESO, it is more forgiving also, though. In ESO, the grouping everything together and making sure they're all killed and the death ball in the center of the room, it's not as important. People, if someone gets aggro, they're not going to instantly die or anything like that. It's way more forgiving than a lot of other MMOs. But so that's something I find annoying, and I don't know. I like the tab targeting system as a caster, but I don't necessarily like it as melee. And so for me, it's more fun to play a melee character in a game like ESO versus playing a caster in a game like Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft. How did you feel about the combat? Sort of like, it's like a hybrid between tab target and hack and slash.
Yeah, I actually don't even use the targeting system at all because I'm so used to regular RPGs that you just go at it. You basically just swing around. But what I like to do is I created a new character and I based it around two-hand, not dual wield, two-hand, two hands on one sword, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I get those confused, the dual wield and the two-handed. But anyway, I based it on that. And then what I do is I base all my skills on damaging all the targets around me. So I do the main damage to the person that I'm hitting specifically, but then I do some extra damage to everyone else. Mm-hmm. So I kind of always do that because I like to be able to damage everything around me and kind of keep it down while my wife, what she's playing with me, kind of picks them off as they're getting lower and lower, depending on how, difficult the enemies are.
Yeah. I've never played a healer in this game.
Yeah, I'm not a good healer. I forget to heal people. I'll be like fighting and then it'll be like someone's dead. Oh well. Whoops.
When I play healers, I feel the pressure. Like I do the opposite.
Definitely.
I completely focus on people's health bars and then I don't pay attention to mechanics. And I'm like, who is this person that just is constantly taking damage? And then I'm like, oh crap, that's me.
Well, that's like me. Like I'll do the same thing. I'll either lose track of everyone or I'll just only focus on everyone and not help at all. And then everyone's dying anyway because you're not helping fight.
Yeah. I also have a tendency to like way overheal. Like as soon as I see, because to me being a healer is like
just heal.
Yeah. To me being a healer is like boring until it's not.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not doing anything, and then it's like, oh crap, we got to do everything.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Yep. I agree with that.
I usually like playing a tank in most games. I either like playing a glass cannon or a tank. Like I either like being the guy.
What is a glass cannon?
A glass cannon is it's a term for like you can't take any damage, but man, you pack a mean punch. So you're a glass cannon.
I got you.
So
I got you.
A mage in World of Warcraft.
Someone attacks you, you're dead. But as long as you stay back and you attack, you're fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
But so yeah, I guess that finalizes our review of ESO. It runs very well on Linux, and the game is very good.
Yeah.
Should we do like scores? I hadn't thought about this. We're just thinking of this on the spot.
Yeah, I actually didn't think about that either. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, if we go off of Proton DB and where it says gold,
yeah.
I would personally give this a platinum rating because it just works. Every single distro I tried, it did just work. Now the performance wasn't as good as Mint on everything else, but it did just work. It installed and played. If you had a better system, like a better graphics card and everything than I have, it would probably be fine. You wouldn't even notice. But yeah, I would give it definitely platinum, like full on. You can play this, just enable Proton and you're good. And the only thing I would suggest is to get Glorious Egg Rolls Proton to help out the FPS just a little bit extra.
I'm so going to email that guy and see if he'll come on the show.
I can't figure out how to get in contact with him. I like his last video he did was 10 months ago, and the comments are like from that time. So I'm like, how the heck do you get in contact with this dude?
Well,
and you can't like bug report on GitHub or anything. I've actively tried to contact this dude, and I cannot find any resource.
He is an enigma of the internet.
Basically.
All right. Well, yeah. We don't. What we should do is come up with a grading system. We'll retroactively do ESO on the next episode. But yeah, I think it would be good to grade them. But just overall, chef's kiss. Superb. ESO superb running on Linux.
Definitely.